Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Joyce and I'm here with another video for you guys. So today I'm going to be telling you some of the things I think you need to know before coming to school or before coming to study in the Philippines. Or even if you already have admission to the Philippines and you're planning to come here, maybe I would give you some tips that may help the transition from wherever you are to the Philippines, especially if you're an international student from Africa. I'm a Nigerian and I'm a graduate student here. I have been here since 2018, so I've been here for 2 years. So let's get into the video, guys. So there are about 2,300 colleges and universities in the Philippines. So if you've decided to study in the Philippines, of course, the first thing you would do is to search for a school that suits you in terms of the program you are interested in, location, and of course, the tuition, so your fees. So when you find the school, of course, you have to check to make sure that you meet the requirements needed for you to be accepted into the program, and then you have to contact your department, your admissions office, and if you eventually get in, the school handles your visa. And another thing to keep in mind, like in my case, I was required to write an entrance exam. For undergraduate students, I'm really not sure. And then another thing is that as an international student, sometimes you require some sort of English proficiency exams. You have to take that exam, like TOEFL. However, for me, I requested a TOEFL waiver and I got that by submitting a letter from my undergrad institution stating that I am Nigerian, English is the official language, and all our courses were taught in English. Keep that in mind, that may be an option for you. Is it affordable to study in the Philippines? Generally, as we know, private colleges and universities are more expensive than the public ones. I go to a public university. So I read that the average tuition fee in private colleges and universities is about 145,000 pesos. Pesos is the money here, or the currency here, which is approximately $2,888 per year. But I saw another source that said it can range from 80,000 pesos to 280,000 pesos per year for private universities, which is about $1,596 to $5,587. I couldn't really find a credible source for public universities, but for me, I would say per year it ranges from about $1,400 to like $1,600, $700 per year. But then your tuition also depends on a lot of things, like the number of units you take. The more units you take, the more increased your fees are. So obviously, everywhere international students generally pay more, I think. Ideal scholarship opportunities. Well, there are many tuition subsidies as well as scholarship opportunities in many schools for international students. But in many cases, you have to be in good academic standing, meaning that you have to have good grades. So I would advise you to start off well in terms of having good grades, so that even if you're not entitled to some of these scholarships or tuition subsidies at the beginning of your program, when you are in good academic standing and you would be eligible to apply for some of those waivers. Make sure you interact with other international students, talk to people, go to like scholarship offices within your school to make inquiries, because if you don't make inquiries, you would definitely miss out on some scholarship opportunities, tuition subsidies that you are entitled to as an international student. So next, I'm going to talk about the grading system. So instead of the regular A to F grading system most of us are used to, they use the 1 to 5 grading system. So 1 is excellent, 5 means that you failed. But for a pass, you require a grade of 3, which is like average. And I would say that the educational system may be a bit difficult to adapt to for some people not, but then it would depend on the standard of your school because different schools have different standards as it is everywhere. So for me personally, I did have a bit of a hard time adjusting to the whole educational system when I first started, but after the first semester, I was good. Keep your head up, keep your chin up, strive, persevere, and usually after your first semester, using myself as an example, you should be good. So next, I'm going to talk about the people. So many people here are friendly, but then you would also meet the not so friendly ones, as it is everywhere, because there will always be nice people and not so nice people. But I would say the hardest part of interacting with some of the people here is that English is actually not the first language here. They have their own language, which is Tagalog. And sometimes, as a student, the teacher may also speak in Tagalog. And as an international student, obviously you don't understand. But of course, in the educational system, you have those people that, speak English very well, especially within the school setting. Some don't speak it as well. But you would hardly find within the educational system those that don't speak it at all. But then it's just that English might not be their go-to language as it is for you. So you have to keep that in mind. But I would say when it comes to the teachers speaking Tagalog, I would advise you, especially when it comes to the teachers, to speak up and tell them, of course, in a very polite way, that you do not speak their language at all. Because some of them don't take note of that and some of them do. Because I've been in classes where they asked me, because like I'm the only black person in my department anyways, so they asked me, do you speak the language? And I'm like, no. So do not be shy, do not be like me, because when I first started, I kind of felt shy speaking up and saying that I didn't understand the language. Do not be like me. Just tell them very politely that you don't understand, and you would appreciate it if they speak English. And by doing that, I promise you that you would save yourself a lot of stress. I'm speaking from experience, guys. Do not be afraid to speak up. Don't think you can, figure it out yourself when you're in class and you don't understand. Don't think, oh my gosh, I'll go back and read. Do not be like me, you guys. Speak up and say you do not understand the language. I'm going to talk about the cost of living, which is very important. So apart from tuition, you need money to survive. Yeah. So I would say that the cost of living is pretty affordable, but then it would depend on a lot of things and how much money you have. For example, you can decide to stay in a dorm if your school has dormitory facilities, or you can stay in a condo. For example, I stay in the dorm and I pay about $60 per month. And that's the best dorm in my school with 3 people per room. Obviously, if somebody cannot afford $60 per month for their dorm, there are other dorms in school that are cheaper, way cheaper, but they may not necessarily have the same facilities as the $60 per month one, and then you have more people in a room. For example, in my dorm, we are 3 in a room, and we have our bathroom and our toilet inside the room. So in other dorms that are cheaper, you may not have your bathroom and toilet in the room. You may have to share with more people and things like that. So you could also stay in a condo, which costs anywhere from 15,000 pesos to 20,000 pesos. I'll put the conversion somewhere here. I forgot to look it up before this video. So those are more expensive and they're usually like 1-room apartments. They're really cute. I also wanted to stay in a condo, but I also had to consider like safety. So because a lot of our classes are in the night or in the evening, so I didn't want to have to commute late. And also easy access to school. Like I don't have to travel back and forth, which also saves cost. But then you also have, apart from the dorms and the condos, you also have like the in-betweens, whereby you could stay in the community for like ranges in between what you would pay in the dorm and the condo. So you may find some for like 4,000 pesos, 5,000 pesos, 6,000 pesos and things like that. So when you get to school, if you don't want to stay in the dorm, which would probably be the cheapest option, You can make inquiries about spaces in the community, but make sure you're safe, make sure your community is safe, because safety is the most important thing before even comfortability. And then also when it comes to accommodation, you may find like other dorms within the community, not necessarily owned by school, but then they have a lot of that here, where there are dormitories not owned by school, but just privately owned or just out there in the community. And maybe in your school, like in my school, they don't have dorm rooms for single people, like one person per room. Because if they had that option, I definitely would have opted for that. And there are dorms in the community where you could have options. Like I've seen one of those around my school where you could pay for, one room, which is more expensive, like 9,000, 10,000 pesos, or shared spaces like 6,000 pesos. So it just depends on what you want. But me personally, I wanted to stay within campus. I feel safer within my campus, basically. Now for the food, my camera is about to die, so I'm talking fast. As a Nigerian international student, adjusting to the food was a bit difficult. But you can get affordable food and you can get expensive food. But I think adjusting to the food would actually depend a lot on your taste buds. Some people can eat anything, some people can't. Me, I think I'm more in between. Like I'm not so picky, but sometimes I am. But of course, within the school environment or around the school environment, you would definitely always find food places. There are restaurants everywhere. So you are bound to find something that you like. For me personally, I've noticed that the foods I like to eat, which have rich flavor and kind of give me the Nigerian vibe, are more expensive. And for that reason, I'm always broke. I spend most of my money on food because a girl gotta eat. I gotta eat. So another thing to keep in mind is that depending on where you stay, you may or may not be allowed to cook. For example, staying in the dorms. Yeah, a lot of dorms. I don't know about their school, but in my school, dorms, you really can't, you really can't cook. So you have to buy food 24/7, which would be something you have to consider when like budgeting for your cost of living. Because if you stay in a condo, you can cook, which would save money on buying food. But if you stay in a dorm, you have to buy food every day, which means more money allocated to buying food. So I hope with this video, I've been able to help some of you guys in some way, even if it's just one person, especially if you're considering, coming to school here in the Philippines. And if you have other questions that I may not have addressed in this video, comment it down below and I will respond to your comments. Because I get a lot of DMs about this. So when I get a DM about questions like this, I'm just going to refer the person to this video. Makes my life easier. So thank you guys for watching and I will see you in my next video. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.